Shri I now request Professor Ravi Kumar Ji from our Bangalore to occupy the dais. I take privilege in welcoming Shri Professor D.K. Bandyopadhyay Ji to the dais. I now request Professor Mishra Ji to occupy the chair of the dais. It gives me immense pleasure and welcoming two CEOs of beautiful and really doing well businesses. May I take the privilege of welcoming Shri Murali Krishna Reddy Ji and Mr. Sharad Sura to the dais. We welcome you, sir. To talk about Shri Murali Krishna Ji, he is a very successful entrepreneur. He has redefined the art of hotel industry. You know, the hall which we are in is the CMD of that hotel. He has a Dana group of hotels and they have a chain, and he has really done a beautiful job. Planting a fast growing IT company. It gives us privilege to say that both are good friends of School of Management Studies. We welcome you, sir. Now I hand over before we hand over the proceedings to Shri Ravi Kumar Ji, may I request our scholars to welcome them with flowers. I now hand over the session to Shri Ravi Kumar Ji for further putting. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, friends. The biggest challenge I have in front of me, rather in front of me, even though it's a Sunday. And normally a Sunday lunch is much more elaborate than the regular day lunch. This is the first challenge. The second challenge I have is, how do we come to brass tacks? From a global level, how can we come down to ground level? Because Indians are internationally known for the ability to go on top. When it comes to action, perhaps I think all of us will have paralysis, mental and physical. So the biggest challenge I have is that we have to close the session. Upper limit being is 2 to 15. Is it fine? Okay. Now the biggest problem we have is that we have 3 professors. And professors have a problem. They don't need introduction, they need only conclusion. And if a professor stands up and talks, you have it, he goes on to autopilot. So that's why I'm not standing. That's the reason. But unlike other fields of education, when we talk about business education, there is a more need to be pragmatic. Right? I can teach history because history's application is very minimal. Literature can be taught. Things have not changed. Like Dr. Pritam Singh said, the difference between physical sciences and management science is this. There is much more need to understand what are the expectations of a practitioner. If you know the expectations of the practitioner, then perhaps you can revise your curriculum. You can revise what do you teach and how do you teach. So we have 2 people from industry. So what I will do is I will request them first. Let them show us the way in saying that these are the problems we see in management schools. Interesting thing, a large number of practicing managers have not gone to management schools. Because if you look at the most successful managers, they have not gone to management schools. Right? But they come to management schools to pick up what they say is, this is a talent gone. So if we can listen to them, then we'll follow it up with the professors. You know, professors also have to learn to listen to, and this is a beginning. Thank you, sir. Go ahead. And you know what is the total time limit. Take as much time as you want. Whatever time you leave to us, we'll manage. That's like that. That's how we cover syllabus. Supposed to be covered. You do what you want. You can stand, no problem. Distinguished invitees.
think it's on. Yeah. Is it on? Yeah. Professor Ravi Kumar has made an apt introduction. He has also given us a warning that we don't have much time to speak endlessly and take away your lunch break. I would be as brief as possible without, making things clear. Business schools have become hot properties in India. The reason is some of the grads from these institutions are being offered mind-boggling salaries. I do not know if there is a conspiracy at work, but that's how it looks like to me. When a grad gets 12 million rupees, I definitely see it as a conspiracy, not necessarily rewarding talent. Because industry doesn't work that way. It's my personal view. Some of you may say, why are you decrying when good offers are coming to our grads? It is going to have serious implications to the concept of management education, to the concept of equality. And when you create this kind of huge dichotomy, you are also creating 99% of frustrated grads who will start off with huge frustration on their first job because they will take this as benchmark, because in the college they know who took help from who, and suddenly we may see one guy as a wizard. The rest of the people know he is as normal or she is as normal as the rest of the grads are. But anyway, management schools are playing such a pivotal role in the growth of the world economy. We need to understand what really needs to be done to produce management grads who will be in tune with the requirements of the industry. Professor Venkat asked me to share with you what we in the industry expect from the business graduates. I am myself a business graduate, so if I make some radical statements, bear with me. Many of the institutions have acquired elitist character in the country because of this huge pay packets being paid to some of their graduates. This elitism has got its own advantages and huge disadvantages. And I feel if you produce a class of business graduates who are not in tune with the reality, you are going to create huge distortions in the running of the businesses. I remember Aditya Birla telling his top managers that when you go for recruitment of ordinary graduates, preferably with rural background, because they'll stay with you, work with you, and travel with you in the journey. It is also one of the biggest complaints of the industry that these elite graduates from these elite institutions are not staying with you more than 1 year, in the first job at least. The reason being, most of these elitist schools are producing graduates with American case study methods. They're all the time dealing with cases at the level of CEO and nothing below. And in his first job, he or she is thinking like a CEO when one has to work with a team. This is the complaint I come across when I interact with other industrialists or entrepreneurs. In the limited time that's allotted to me, I'd like to share with you, because you are the people who are shaping this business education in the country. I look at it from Indian perspective. When we are making these MBAs or BBAs or whatever you call them, I think we need to inculcate in these graduates a sense of purpose. Why are you becoming a business graduate? Are you just becoming a business graduate for transforming something in this country, or just get the top-notch pay packet? Is that your goal, or to be an instrument of change and a leader who will transform the business environment of this country? Most of the time, we have the view, if somebody is good in mathematics, if somebody is good in statistics, somebody is excelling in marketing theory, he is the top graduate. In my view, it is not your intellectual superiority that's going to transform a business, but your ability to work with the teams, ability to motivate ordinary people to do extraordinary things, that is going to give results. If you are not able to work with people, however intellectually superior you are, however good in your subject you are, it's not going to give us the results. So I feel business schools must give this perspective to these graduates. And particularly, we must give the Indian perspective. If we don't do that, if we go on teaching the Indian graduates in American way of thinking, fortunately or unfortunately, most of the books we business graduates read are all written by Western authors, mostly American authors. So without our knowledge, without anybody doing anything, you always tend to teach an American perspective to the business. American perspective works in America. American perspective definitely works in Europe. Sometimes it doesn't, even in Europe. We in India, if we don't bring Indian reality into the education of business graduates, definitely there's going to be dichotomy in working tomorrow. Because essentially you are going to work with Indians. You are not necessarily going to work, the organization is not going to be filled with business graduates. You are going to be the leaders and they are going to be followers. Followers are all coming from Indian scene. If we do not inculcate this kind of an attitude into our business graduates, they are going to have a superiority complex while running the businesses, just like Indian IAS officers have had superiority in running Indian administration. Ultimately, they ruined our country. So our business graduates also should not get into this kind of a mode that we know everything. We have come from these institutions. Rest of you are all intellectually inferior. You do what I tell. I know the solutions to the problems, and end of the day, destroy that cohesiveness in the organization. And also, you are such a carpetbagger, you are always running after pay packets, you are not going to stick around, you are not going to build businesses, and it's going to become, in the words of Alvin Toffler, you start throwing away economy you build into every organization. You work 2 years, go somewhere else, put some policies, never see them through. And this kind of transient business leaders will not work in India, because India still is going to be next 50 years a stable society. It's going to be based on the concept of family, joint family particularly. Though we see in urban areas a disintegration of joint family concept, we are essentially still, society depends on the concept of joint family. That's the way it works. One brother has a job, he has to look after the whole family. He considers it as a sacred duty that he has to marry off his younger sisters. This is not the case in Western societies. Unless we draw the strength from this kind of social milieu into the business system and build an attitude in our business graduates to be sharing and caring leaders, business cannot go forward. It's very essential, because if you are going to believe in American ethos, because those are the books we are reading day in and day out and scoring high marks, you are bound to think like an average American. And then go on talking this language to average Indian, whose mindset is entirely different, whose background is entirely different, and then create this kind of a huge dissonance in the organization. And at the end of the day, it's not going to work towards the purpose. I feel institutions like yours, where you are all leading this one, there is a huge fund of knowledge within the country. I cannot think of a greater management guru than Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi talked about marketing when nobody in the West understood what is marketing concept. His statement before 1940 about customer is not an outsider in our premises is a beautiful statement which is much ahead of Kotler, much ahead of Theodore Levitt and great marketing gurus of the West. We need to look at the concepts within the country, joint family concept, one for everybody, all for one, sharing and caring, and traveling along with the rest of the team works wonders. My own experience in Green Park Group of Hotels is, ordinary people will do extraordinary things, provided you give them a nurturing working environment, provided you lead them with an attitude of sharing and caring, you will definitely get. I do not have great business graduates in my company, but we are delivering one of the finest values to our customers, and our customers are happy. We are making one of the highest profits in the industry. We are having one of the lowest cost models in our country. All ordinary people doing extraordinary work. It's possible if you lead them with this attitude. My only view is, if business schools bring in this kind of approach to teaching, approach to drawing from the Indian experience, I don't think any other book can teach more management than Panchatantra. Our own Panchatantra has huge management knowledge. I'm not saying become a build parochial managers. I'm not saying that. We should be anchored in our local, in our own strengths, bring in global knowledge. We must be aware of global trends. We must allow in Mahatma Gandhi's words, let us keep our windows open. Let all the breeze come from all the sides into our house. But let us not be swept off our feet by this wind. Let us be anchored in our own social ethos. Let us be anchored in our own problems. See, I will give you an example. If a rural graduate comes to you, to work with you, and another urban graduate who has had opportunity to work in or study in top schools comes to you, don't merely judge by the quality of English he speaks. Go behind and see what is the handicap for this rural person who has come. Does he have the metal to deliver the value? Or am I enamored by this ability to dress sophisticatedly and speak sophisticated English? Should not. You should have an approach to understand Indian difficulties, Indian situation, how people are studying, what is the background. As business leaders, we must develop these people to be sensitive to the Indian situation. Then only you can build this society into a great society and bring this leadership, business leadership, which is anchored within the Indian system and work wonders for the future. I think this is the perspective I want to bring it to you. You are all experts in management education. It's not for me to tell you what to teach and what not to teach, how to run and how not to run. But I feel if one can bring this perspective into teaching, one perspective, you may not change the curriculum into predominantly this, but there must be an atmosphere in the business schools to be sensitive to these needs of the Indian society, and then prepare these leaders to be sharing and caring leaders, so that India as a whole benefits from these business leaders. Not the objective of the business school should not be producing 500 graduates in the country who will earn 10 million a year. That should not be the objective. If it also happens, it's good. But the fundamental goal of the business schools must be produce business leaders who will act as transformation leaders by sharing and caring approach. Thank you so much.
You had a taste of how.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just thought I'll share a few of my thoughts. Unlike Murali, I'm not a management graduate, pure technical person, first generation business people. So we really dirty our hands many times, did a lot of mistakes in our life to be where we are today. So it also taught us some really good lessons, and It's my personal kind of preference to share those thoughts with you freely.